Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing a brand new review, and today I'm going to be reviewing the 1996 classic disaster film Twister, directed by Jan de Bont, and of course reviewing this ahead of the sequel Twisters, which comes out next Wednesday the 17th of July here in the United Kingdom. And this is going to be an interesting one. We don't normally do the old reviews these days like we used to do. This year's been very quiet with the new releases. We've covered so many franchises and life's been in the way. So, we would have done Planet of the Apes, we would have done Mad Max, etc., etc. But we do have a sequel this summer. We've got Twisters, and I'm very excited to see this film. But before seeing the film, I needed to watch the original because it is a film I had never seen before. And that's going to maybe surprise a lot of people. I've always enjoyed disaster films growing up. I remember The Day After Tomorrow being like one of the biggest films, not of my childhood, but marketing event status. I just remember that so consciously when that came out. Then films like 2012, etc., etc. So I've always enjoyed a good disaster film, and I just never seen Twister. It's not something that had been on telly that I'd seen. It's not something I saw when I was younger. We didn't have it on like VHS or DVD. It's just something that evaded me until recently, I guess. And obviously, I'm very excited for the sequel. It's starring Glenn Powell, an actor I absolutely adore. And I've been seeing all the promotional stuff. Tom Cruise going to the red carpet, endorsing the film himself, a picture with him and Glenn. And that makes me want to go back and watch Top Gun Maverick as well, because they were great in that. But it's a film I'm excited for. And it's not just the fact there's no new releases. We don't really seem to get disaster films these days. And I wanted to go and watch the original, because what caught me off guard with the new one, I haven't seen yet, by the way, what caught me off guard is the fact that it wasn't like, oh, there's a big hurricane. It was the logic that, oh, they chase tornadoes. That's kind of cool. Or twisters, I guess. And I didn't know that. And I didn't realise that was part of the first film too. That someone at work had mentioned it to me, and they were shocked I hadn't seen it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to see it before the new film comes out. So I have now seen it, and I'm going to give this a nice short review. But what kind of goes hand in hand with this is it's very hard to access this film now. It's not streaming anywhere in the United Kingdom. I don't know about American stuff. I couldn't find anything on my VPN on the American streaming sites. The 4K is just come out in America, but it's not coming out in the UK till, I think, October, November. So I'm going to probably pick up a duo box set for that if they do them. So I had to end up watching this through Blu-ray, through a CEX find, which I don't do too often, and I was kind of excited to see this. I'd seen memes about the cow and stuff like that, but I knew next to nothing about this film. To the point that Bill Paxton turned up, and I was like, oh my fucking god, Bill Paxton in this film, great. Then Helen Hunt's in the film, and then Carey Ullis is in the film, and then Alan Ruck turned up, and there's so many great actors in this film. I did not know any of these were in it. Philip Seymour Hoffman is in this film. How has this film evaded me? I do not know. I don't know why I hadn't seen it before now. But I've just got to say, before I start talking about it, I adored this film. I thought it was great. It was so different to what I thought it was going to be. If I kind of talk about the story point as well, I just thought, oh yeah, there's going to be this giant twister that comes, they've got to get away, and that's the film Twister. A bit like Alien, a sequel with an S2. But it was one of those where I loved this idea that we need to not figure out the science, but based off what, I'm going to do spoilers. The film's, my age now, is 28 years old, which is equally as depressing. And it was just one of them where I was having a whale of a time watching it. The effects were superb. The practical effects, the car going through the house, I'm sure that's a scene that people probably speak of. The actual the twisters themselves, the scenery, that would have been incredible to film. And I kept thinking of Speed, and I saw that for the first time last year. I didn't know until 20 minutes ago that it's the same director as Speed, Jan de Bont. I absolutely love Speed. And it's that mid-90s. I've always spoken on videos that the 90s is my favourite decade for cinema. Not because I was born in the 90s, but because it seems to have that perfect blend. That you've got the tail end of the 80s, you've got these 90s dramas, and you're starting to see signs of what the noughties is going to be with new tech, etc., etc. 90s is my favourite decade for cinema. Then after that, it's probably the 70s. And it's one of them where I can understand why this one was so popular at the time. That, I don't know much about disaster films pre-1990s. The ones I mentioned are all noughties films, especially with like modern day CGI. But to get a film like this, it was incredibly successful. It was the second highest grossing film of '96 after Independence Day, which is completely understandable as well. Also another great film. But what really caught me off guard of this was the story. That the twister is almost the background piece to the core story, which is Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, a couple about to divorce who have gone their separate ways, but ultimately the thrill of the chase, chasing tornadoes, that is them, that is their couple, that's their ideology, that's what they want to be. And I love this idea that it became a film about two people trying to get back with each other amidst this absolute anarchy with a tornado. And maybe it's because I didn't expect it, maybe it's because I didn't know much heading in, maybe I thought, as I said, it's going to be a generic, they're going to go and try and escape and this thing's always coming for them. I love that it was none of that. It had a lot of heart, and I don't really associate that to disaster films. A lot of the time it's always that family element of parent goes back for their child, or they're looking for another relative, and we get a little bit of that with the aunt, but this film does a great way of setting it up, and it then also starts to, in my opinion, counter disaster film stereotypes. I mentioned some of those great actors like Alan Ruck, Philip Seymour Hoffman that appeared in the film. Every time one of them popped up, I was like, oh no, they're going to get a brutal death. Oh no, it's Alan Ruck, he's going to go. Philip Seymour Hoffman, he's going to get slaughtered because he's a young actor. And I was expecting his body count. And none of that happened either. And even if I can never pronounce the same, Carey Lewis, obviously he's been in loads of films. Mission Impossible last year is the most recent one that springs to mind. Ungentlemanly Warfare as well is out in a few weeks here. Even the villains got the classic villain death, which I loved. And it's kind of a part of the nice ones, right? Those horrible pricks are going to get what's coming to them. And I love the idea of this one is that these are people that seek the thrill of the chase, of being a chaser. And the fact one of their branch left them, he got sponsorships, he got technology, and that made him the villain because ultimately he didn't have a clue what they were doing or what they're up to. I liked those sort of comedic elements that came with it, but getting one of the most brutal deaths, going through the driver's seat, then spinning up, then throwing down, and then exploding was absolutely insane. But I love the fact no one else died because, again, I'm so accustomed to that in filmmaking. And it's kind of an unfair way to judge this film because I'm treating it like it's brand new. It is the first time I've seen it, but because I knew so little about it, there was nothing for me heading in that I didn't really think not to anticipate. And I imagine to a lot of other people, this is a film maybe they've grown up with, they've seen many times. Maybe it's one of those films in '96 where everyone saw it, or maybe people saw it multiple times. But it's just something that doesn't really seem to have much discussed about, and an absolute whale of a time. And I really appreciate it. And Amblin Entertainment produced it as well. So you obviously got credits like Kathleen Kennedy, I think Spielberg as well, and EP type stuff. It just felt great. It felt like a summer blockbuster. Yes, I'm watching it at home in the summer, many years after it's come out, but building up to Twisters next week, it was a really fun experience. And it's something, as I mentioned, that was a lot better than I think it had any right to be. I think if you gave most filmmakers a film, here you go have a film about Twister, it would just be generic stuff. But the fact we got this great backstory with Helen Hunt, that her dad passed away, they had no warning, and it's become her life's goal to be somebody who can create warnings for tornadoes. There's that really great side to it that they're trying to do something better for the people, for the victims of this, and I just thought it was a really interesting way to approach a film such as this. I do feel I'm waffling somewhat, but again, it's a really weird experience talking older films that I'm seeing for the first time, one of which I really enjoyed. But that's kind of it with this. I had a great time with it, and if I'm kind of going to try and narrow it down to favourite sequences, I absolutely loved the Shining sequence at the drive-in theatre. I'm guessing that's a scene a lot of people talk about. I think I've read before that this happened in real life, that a Twisters was on at a drive-through and a real Twister sort of destroyed it all. I don't know how truth is of whether people, but I don't know, but those kind of things are always really interesting. But I loved that sequence, and again, seeing the wreckage that these have in the film, getting these practical sets, and I know it's weird to talk about that because it's the mid-90s, of course it's practical, but we are seeing CGI tornadoes almost maybe for the first time. We are seeing that technology somewhat developing, but there are so many great practical things. It makes it feel so much more authentic, so much more real, and I can only imagine the carnage that behind the scenes had in making this. So it's a recommendation for me, go and see this film before the new one. Now, I don't know a lot about the new one. I've seen one trailer at the cinema. I haven't searched to see if there's loads of cast members coming back. Obviously, we wouldn't have some returning cast like Bill Paxton and stuff like that. But I'm really curious to see who could crop up or how it's going to be connected to the new one. I know it's the Alien joke that we put S on the end, and that's the sequel. It's a great idea to do a Twister sequel like this. And I'm going to kind of sort of segue on to review for it as well. I'm not going to be at the press screening for this one. It is the Monday before it comes out. And it's not a bit OCD to sort of moan about it, but it's not an IMAX. And Twisters is literally a film that should be seen in IMAX. It should be the biggest screen possible. The sound design could be insane. I don't know why it's not an IMAX, so I'm going to be waiting till it's out next Wednesday. and then I'll watch it on the opening couple of days, then we'll get a review out on the channel. So it won't be early, it will be a couple of days after, but it's because I want to watch it in that right environment, because a film like this absolutely should be seen. And kind of one criticism for Twister, why didn't they re-release it before the new one? The opportunity's there, there's not been that many new releases. Yes, I've had Inside Out, it's made a shit ton of money, but you could have easily put Twister back in cinema for a couple of days. People would have probably gone and seen it knowing there's a sequel coming out. It is that big screen experience. I'd have had a whale of a time at the cinema for this. It would have been even better than watching it at home. So I'm kind of gutted there wasn't a chance to do so. But I am excited to watch Twisters. And as I said, a review will be out on the channel next week for that. So that is going to do it for today's review. Thank you all for watching. If you want to find out about other videos, go get us on our social medias. Linktree.com/cinemasabi. That'll pop through to our Letterboxd, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that sort of stuff. So have a look on there. If you do like the channel, we're closing on 3K subs. So if you do want to subscribe, we've got a lot more new releases coming. We'll have some more videos coming up as well. So thank you all for watching, and be sure to join us on the next one. Take care.